Hey guys, what's up? It's Steph, and today the interview necklace is back out. You know what that means, right? I just gave it away by telling you what this necklace symbolizes. So today we are joined by another awesome author, and I will let him introduce himself to you.
Hi Steph, thank you very much for having me on your show. Really have been enjoying your channel. My name is Gerhard Gehrke. I'm the writer of A Beginner's Guide to Invading Earth, another couple of other science fiction novels. Nineveh's Child, which is a post-apocalyptic novel that came out earlier this year. And then just recently, last month, Supervillain High, which is a trilogy of books and perhaps an ongoing series that, again, came out last month, and it's my first foray into writing things that I would consider young adult.
Now, I want to apologize because whenever I do, whenever I do talk about his books, I always mispronounce his name, so right off the bat, I want to apologize for pronouncing your name wrong. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name as Gerard when it's Gerhard. So, yes, I cannot read names, pronunciations. I'm terrible with them, and I apologize. As he mentioned, Mr. Gehrke has many novels out. But we are here to talk about his Supervillain High series trilogy, which I know this isn't the full cover. You can kind of see it on the mug. I do not have my physical copy yet, but I will be getting all of them soon. And I'll show them off because, I like to do them book hauls, So just like the last author interview I did, which if you have not watched, you can check out in the icon right above, or you can go check it out in the description down below. I will also link to a playlist where you will find both of these videos. And if we do more in the future, hopefully you'll be able to find more, depending on when you watch this. Hi, future people. So just like with the last author interview, I sent a series of questions to Mr. Gehrke, and he sent me back his responses, which I'll be posting after I ask questions. My first question was, what inspired you to write this series?
The inspiration for my series, well, I really like the idea of having younger protagonists, people that didn't necessarily have all the answers or all the life skills, and then they have to deal with the added complications of going to high school, which maybe except for a small minority was an overall miserable experience that everyone was just trying to survive. So I still remember those days quite well. And so they're burdened with these complications and yet dealing with some extraordinary circumstances that wind up sending them on this adventure, all set in a world where they're dealing with a superhero craze where people dress up like heroes and villains and go out and fight each other on the streets without having any real powers or skills or talents except for the ability to actually make a costume. I really was inspired by books like Ender's Game, which I thought did a really nice job of taking a young person and taking them away from the protection of their family and even away from the protection of normal society and just placed into, taken away and put somewhere where they were absolutely tested. And I think that's what happens to at least a couple of the characters in the Supervillain High series. And I just thought, well, how interesting would it be to have a high school where perhaps one or maybe more, we'll leave that up to the reader to discover, of the students there have perhaps a father or a mother who has been infected by this superhero's craze, and I wanted to see what direction that would go. And then I started fleshing out, okay, this would be the culture of the supers in this world, this type of mania, so where would it go? So I started to flesh that out. That led to outlining the stories that I released and some possible other future stories as well. So I thought it was something that I found compelling to write, and hopefully the readers find it interesting too.
My second question, what character did you most enjoy writing?
As far as the character I enjoy the most, there's a bad girl. She's a fellow student of Brendan, who's the main character, but I did enjoy writing her. She's a bit of a mean girl. Her name's Lucille, and I wanted to kind of write the girl who was, at least from the perspective of a nerdy, insecure boy, evil. And we'll leave it up to you to discover how evil she really is, but she at least seems to be the girl who would poison the apple, that enjoys seeing other people fail. And yet, deep down, she's also just an insecure freshman in high school trying to survive the experience of being in a new school, which all these students are since it's a boarding school. And so she winds up being a complication, and she also has perhaps some type of ability that makes her an interesting component to the story and to Brendan's adventure. And I think I was hitting a nerve with her because I got an email from a reader, and all the email said was, "I hate Lucille." So I feel I struck a nerve with her, and I do enjoy writing her. I want her to show up as much as possible, and she does feature strongly in 2 out of the 3 books of the Supervillain High trilogy. And I think if she survived all that, then I would expect that we would see more of her.
The evil ones are fun to write. I'll be honest. Lucille is one of those characters you love to hate, and if you have not read this series yet, you're gonna love to hate her. You need to check it out. The bad ones are always so fun to read and write. My third question was, if you could be a supervillain, what would your name be?
Well, that's a very interesting question as far as what would be my supervillain name. I think I would make a terrible supervillain. Just the idea of going out into the streets and being expected to fight anyone else, I'd probably be running the other direction. I'd probably make a terrible name choice and wind up getting sued by Marvel or DC, so I probably should pass on that. So I would be known as the guy running the other way, or please not in the face man, or just, hey, I'm going to wear a shirt that says I bruise like a grape, please don't hit me. And that would probably be my very short life as a supervillain, so I would have to leave that to those with greater physical abilities and stamina than myself. But again, good question, but we're going to leave that for other people.
My fourth question, what made you decide to self-publish your books?
So, as far as self-publishing, I didn't start out as a self-published author. I was actually sold a few short stories, and there's nothing like the road to writing than a brief taste of success. I found a publisher actually for A Beginner's Guide to Invading Earth, and also its sequel, House of the Galactic Elevator. But then my publisher went out of business, so while I was still getting started in learning the publishing ropes with them, they're a bit of a hybrid publisher, so they left a lot to the author as far as on the marketing side of things. But they did provide me with an editor and a proofreader, and it did allow me to have a good relationships with these ones, because then I went ahead and hired my proofreader as my editor. Her name is Brittany Dory, awesome editor. Look her up at Blue Minerva. Copy editing. But I really feel that the opportunities as a self-published author are excellent right now. There is a viable course towards making a career, making money, and supporting yourself through that. I'm not at that level yet, but I've seen it happen with many authors. There are a lot of advantages besides that. You get a lot of control. You can, at the drop of a hat, within just a 24-hour period, change your price on a book to run a promotion. You can adjust a cover, you can change a blurb, and those things are very glacial when it comes to traditional publishers, at least from what I see. Also, just the turnaround time on being able to finish a book and then actually put it out. You get to dictate all of that. But when you're working with a traditional publisher, you are leaving a lot up to them. So the disadvantages, of course, is, well, the buck stops with you. So you are really required to be your own boss, be your own motivator. You have to make sure it gets in front of an editor. You have to make sure that the cover gets created. And so all those responsibilities are yours. So it is very much starting a business. So you need that self-discipline to be self-regulated. I've started a business before, so that's probably one small advantage I've had in this. There's an old saying that the highs are higher and the lows are lower, and so that is probably the case for those that are trying to self-publish. But that being said, you can come up with a really weird, crazy idea that a traditional publisher just wouldn't even touch, and yet you will find a niche and possibly readers by self-publishing, even though success, of course, just absolutely isn't guaranteed. But I've really enjoyed this road so far, and I look forward to trying it some more. it's really a great way to go. So, and there are so many resources. You just really need to put yourself out there in developing your own reader base, developing your own newsletter, putting yourself out on social media. And even if these things you're not particularly comfortable with, there are tools and other authors who are very supportive, and there's some just essential Facebook groups that will just help you every step of the way. So that made my choice easy. So I would recommend it to anyone that's considering it, to count the cost and then go forward with it, and enjoy writing, and then enjoy that part of the business, learn to enjoy it, and it's there for you.
My final question, outside of the realm of your series and this world that you've created, who is your favorite superhero or villain?
So I've really loved reading comics as a kid. My comic book reading has declined mostly, but not altogether. I used to read like the X-Men a lot. I was a big Marvel guy, but then I got into a lot of the indie comics that came out in the early 90s, and with a little bit of DC thrown in. Big X-Men fan for the longest time. But even recently, I occasionally do pick up a graphic novel, or maybe just take a look at some series. I really highly recommend Red Sun by Mark Miller. I recently read that one. A great story. So it's a Superman, except he winds up landing in the Soviet Union instead of Kansas. So right there, it's an excellent what-if story, and very compelling, and it tells Earth's story from that point and on well into the future. So I highly recommend a graphic novel. I've also read some of Neil Gaiman's Sandman recently, and it's been I was remiss in not reading those, and I have more to go, but that's also a highly recommended series. I really enjoy those.
And yes, this was another author interview. It was so awesome. Thank you again, Mr. Gehrke, for coming to tell us about your book and your series and talked a bit about us. Also, thank you so much for letting me beta read this series. I really enjoyed it, and it's been an awesome series of books to go through. If you want to follow Mr. Gehrke on any of his social medias, if you want to sign up for his newsletter, there will be links down in the description below, as well as him talking about it at the end of the video, where you can find him, all the links and stuff. And you'll see little things popping up in the video to help you out. If you don't go to the description, which you should go to the description, guys. That's where all the fun stuff is. This has been really exciting. I really like doing these author interviews. And I hope you guys enjoy them, because I think it's really interesting. It's like, as someone who like really enjoys watching like behind the scenes on movies and like music videos, and other things, like listening to like the director's commentary, it's really cool to like hear from the creators like their takes on certain things and how they did certain things and why they did certain things, and that's why I think things like this are really interesting. And I hope some of you guys are like nerdy like that with me, and that you're enjoying this. Otherwise, hey, there'll be a new video coming up, you know. But if you did enjoy this, be sure to give this a thumbs up so I know that you guys want to see more author interviews, and I can see what other authors I can reach out to, and what other books I can find that you may not have heard about, that you don't know about, because I'm down to like bring more books to your attention. I would love to share more books with you guys. Yeah. On that note, I'm going to let Mr. Gehrke take it away.
So you can find me, my name, Gerhard Gehrke. It's a Gerhard, Gehrke. I'm .com is my website, and you can sign up for my newsletter there. I try to put out the occasional freebie or a perk to signing up. I do have a beginner's guide that's available for free on InstaFreebie. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and some of the usual spots. You know, just if you can figure out how to spell my name, you'll probably find me there. And I really enjoy hearing questions from readers, and have engaged with a number of ones that have corrected me on points of California geography, which has been enjoyable, since I'm from Northern California, and there is at least one reader in Southern California who has offered some good tips. And so I've enjoyed that. So anyway, I do appreciate you having me here today, Steph, and I do hope you have a lovely day/night, and we will talk to you at another time.